There comes a time in every woman's life when she has to stop waiting for permission, stop shrinking herself to make others feel comfortable, and stop being so soft that the world begins to crush her spirit. This is that time. This is that moment. Society often mistakes kindness for weakness, softness for surrender, silence for acceptance. But the truth is, within every woman lives a fire that even storms cannot put out. That fire is not given, it is built. Not all battles are fought with swords. Some are fought with the courage to speak, to stand, and to rise. You are not meant to be soft so the world can mold you. You are meant to be strong so you can mold the world. Let's awaken that strength. Let's speak to the woman within you who is tired of hiding her roar. Here are 5 powerful keys to becoming a fearless woman. Each one is a torch that will light up the path of courage, resilience, and unstoppable confidence. Number 1, stop apologizing for existing. From the moment we are born, the world begins to teach us to say sorry for simply being who we are. We apologize for laughing too loudly, for asking too many questions, for having an opinion, for taking up space. And slowly, without realizing it, we shrink. Not because we are weak, but because we were taught that our power makes others uncomfortable. So we apologize again and again until sorry becomes a reflex, not a feeling. Until we feel guilty for breathing freely, for speaking boldly, for dreaming differently. But what if I told you that your existence is not a burden, but a blessing? What if I told you that your presence was never meant to be muted? You were never born to tiptoe around life. You were born to stomp, to dance, to declare your identity with unapologetic confidence. Every time you say sorry for something you don't need to, you erase a piece of your strength. And every time you catch yourself doing it and choose not to, you begin to rebuild it. You don't owe the world an apology for walking into a room and being noticed. You don't owe anyone an apology for dressing like you mean it, for working like you own it, for living like you deserve it. You were never created to fit into the shadows. You were born with light inside you. A light that doesn't ask for permission to shine. A light that doesn't dim to make others feel more secure. That light is your power. And power doesn't apologize. There is something beautiful about a woman who owns her space without shame. A woman who walks into chaos and calms it with her presence. A woman who speaks without softening her truth. That kind of woman exists in you. Not after years of struggle, not after you prove your worth, but now. Right now. She is already in you. She is already waiting to be unchained from the cycle of constant apologizing. When you stop saying sorry for everything, something magical happens. You start saying yes to the life you deserve. You start saying no to the weight of others' expectations. You start saying enough to the lies that told you your softness was your only identity, and that sorry was the only way to survive. Survival is not about silence. It's about voice. It's about stepping forward. Even if your knees shake, let the world see a woman who is no longer sorry for being alive. Let them see someone who doesn't ask for approval to speak, to move, to change. You are not here to please everyone. You are not here to make yourself smaller for someone else's comfort. You are here to evolve, to break the pattern, to walk forward with your head high and your heart unguarded. And that walk begins the moment you stop apologizing for it. You do not owe anyone an apology for growing into someone they didn't expect, for leaving behind who they wanted you to be, for rising when they thought you'd fall, for laughing when they expected you to break. Your existence is not an accident, it is an answer to someone's silent prayer, a light for someone else's darkness, a bold reminder that fear can be turned into fire. And when you stop apologizing for existing, you begin rewriting the story you were given. You stop being the character who waits for permission and become the author who dares to write her own ending. Number 2, train your mind to be your ally, not your enemy. The most powerful voice you will ever hear is the one inside your head. It's with you when the world is silent. It speaks to you in the mirror, in the shadows, in your weakest moments. And for many women, that voice becomes a weapon, a silent critic, a constant judge, a merciless echo of every failure, every flaw, every fear. We are not born hating ourselves. We are taught to. Taught that unless we look a certain way, behave a certain way, or follow certain rules, we are not enough. But imagine if that voice became your friend. Imagine if the same mind that once tore you apart began to build you up. Imagine if every time you looked into the mirror, your thoughts whispered encouragement instead of criticism. This is not some fantasy. This is the power of a trained mind. And no one else can train it for you. No book, no mentor, no quote. Only you can teach your mind how to speak to you with respect, love, and truth. When you start training your thoughts, it feels unnatural at first because you've believed the lies for so long that they feel like facts. But every time you interrupt a negative thought with a stronger one, you're building mental muscle. You're telling your brain, I no longer serve fear. And slowly your mind learns a new language. The language of courage, the language of compassion, the language of a woman who refuses to be her own enemy anymore. There is no fiercer woman than the one who has mastered her mind, because the world can throw storms at her, but her inner calm is stronger. She can walk through fire and not be consumed because the battlefield inside her is already won. She can look fear in the eye and keep walking because she no longer feeds it. Her thoughts are no longer cages, they're wings. They lift her, guide her, and protect her. You become unstoppable when your thoughts align with your truth. When your mind begins to echo your strength instead of your insecurities. When you learn to say to yourself, I am capable before anyone else ever does. When your thoughts stop echoing the voices of those who once doubted you. When your mind becomes a mirror of your purpose, not your past. To train your mind is to reclaim your life. Because everything begins and ends in your thoughts, your confidence, your decisions, your vision. It all flows from what you believe you deserve. And until you rewrite the script running through your mind, you will always feel like you're chasing a version of yourself you cannot catch. You must stop feeding your mind with fear dressed up as caution. You must stop letting old beliefs control your new beginning. You must stand before your mirror and speak words that heal instead of harm. You must learn to silence the critic and awaken the coach. Because that woman inside you, the one who is fierce, clear, and focused, she's waiting to be heard. And when your mind becomes your ally, you no longer walk through life looking for rescue. You become the rescuer. You no longer search for permission. You give it to yourself. You no longer survive you. Lead number 3. Set boundaries like a queen, not a prisoner. There comes a moment in your journey when love alone is not enough. You must also draw lines. Not because you are cruel, but because you have finally understood your worth. Boundaries are not walls meant to push people away. They are bridges meant to protect your peace. They're not about controlling others. They're about commanding respect. And as a woman, you were never created to be walked over, tolerated, or drained by those who only come to take. We are taught that being soft means saying yes to everything. That being kind means letting everyone in. That being a good woman means tolerating pain even when it bleeds you dry. But there is no goodness in self-betrayal. No kindness in abandoning your own needs to serve someone else's comfort. You are not a prisoner of your past. You are not a slave to others' expectations. You are a queen, and queens have thrones, not cages. When you set boundaries, some will call you selfish. Let them. Some will say you've changed. Let them. Because they were never meant to walk with the version of you that finally learned to say, this is not okay. You will lose people, but you will find yourself. You will disappoint others, but you will finally breathe. And that breath is the beginning of your becoming. The becoming of a woman who is done sacrificing her soul for acceptance. Every time you say yes, when your heart screams no, you chip away at your own dignity. Every time you allow disrespect to pass as love, you teach people how to treat you. Every time you forgive what you should walk away from, you abandon the woman within who is begging for freedom. And freedom is not loud, it is sacred. It is quiet strength that whispers, not anymore. And that whisper becomes the roar of a fearless woman. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to protect your time. You are allowed to disconnect from anything that drains your energy. You are allowed to stop explaining why you need what you need. You are not cold, you are clear. You are not difficult, you are divine. And divine women don't negotiate their peace, they embody it. You must teach the world how to treat you by showing them how you treat yourself. By refusing to be last on your own list. By honoring your own emotional safety like it's sacred ground. Because it is. You are sacred ground. And only those who understand the value of your spirit should be allowed to stand close. Not because you think you're better, but because you know you're finally enough. The most powerful boundaries are the ones you set silently. Not with anger, not with fear, but with unwavering truth. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to fight to prove anything. You only need to stand firm in who you are and let your energy speak for you. Because the woman who knows herself needs no explanation. Her silence sets the tone. Her presence speaks volumes. And when you set boundaries like a queen, you stop begging for crumbs and start sitting at your own table. You stop waiting for others to value you and start walking like you already do. You stop being so soft that life erases you. And you begin to shape your world with fierce intention. Number 4, embrace rejection as redirection. Rejection feels like a door slammed in your face, like a sudden cold wind blowing out the flame you nurtured for so long. But what if rejection wasn't the end? What if it was a powerful detour towards something far more aligned? Every no you've heard didn't break you, it built you. Every unanswered call, every missed opportunity, every heartbreak wasn't meant to destroy your spirit, it was meant to sharpen it. We've been conditioned to view rejection as a reflection of our inadequacy, to take it personally, to see it as proof that we are not good enough. But the truth is, rejection is not the absence of value, it's the presence of redirection. It's the universe saying, this is not for you, but I'm preparing something that is. And you can either cry at the door that closed or walk toward the one that's opening silently in the distance. A fearless woman doesn't crumble when things don't go her way. She recalibrates. She takes the lessons, not the losses. She doesn't drown in self-pity, she rises in self-trust. Because her worth is not tied to any person's approval, any title's validation, or any opportunity's arrival. Her worth is rooted, not rented. And rooted women cannot be shaken by a few slammed doors. Sometimes the no you receive today is the thank you you whisper years later. Because that wrong path would have led to a version of you that wasn't meant to exist. That relationship would have dimmed your light. That opportunity would have distracted you from your purpose. And what felt like rejection in that moment was actually the deepest form of divine protection. To embrace rejection is to trust that you are still being guided, even when nothing makes sense. Even when your plans fall apart. Even when the silence after your efforts feels unbearable. Trust doesn't mean you won't feel the pain. It means you won't let the pain define your worth. It means you keep showing up, keep creating, keep believing, because you know your story is still unfolding. There is power in a woman who keeps moving even when she's told she doesn't belong. There is grace in a woman who turns rejection into a redirection without bitterness. There is freedom in realizing that no one can reject your soul, your purpose, your truth unless you hand it to them. And once you stop seeking acceptance from places that can't see you, you start discovering places that truly do. You will be rejected. You will be misunderstood. You will be overlooked. But every rejection is refining you, shaping you, preparing you for the version of yourself that cannot be ignored. The woman who walks into rooms she once cried over. The woman who receives with ease what she once begged for. The woman who stopped being so soft that rejection broke her and started being so fearless that it redirected her powerfully. And when you start embracing rejection, you stop waiting for doors to open. You start building your own. You start becoming the very opportunity you were once chasing. You start walking like you belong. Not because someone said you do, but because you finally believe it. Number 5. Speak, even if your voice trembles. There is a moment in every woman's life when silence becomes heavier than truth, when holding it in becomes more painful than letting it out. When the fear of judgment is finally smaller than the need for freedom, that moment is sacred, because that's when a trembling voice begins to rise. Not because it feels strong, but because it refuses to stay silent any longer. For too long, you were taught that being silent made you noble, that not speaking up was a sign of grace, that swallowing your words was strength. But silence is not always peaceful, it can be a prison. And every time you choose not to speak your truth, you abandon a piece of your power. Every time you nod when you want to scream, you bury a part of yourself. You were never meant to be buried, you were meant to bloom. Speaking doesn't mean yelling. It doesn't mean violence. It means voicing your truth, your pain, your purpose, your desires, your needs, even if it's uncomfortable, even if your voice shakes, even if no one claps. Because the act of speaking is not about applause, it's about alignment. It's about becoming the woman who no longer waits for the world to ask what she thinks. A fearless woman doesn't speak because she has the loudest voice. She speaks because her truth has waited long enough. She speaks because her silence has cost her too much. She speaks because she's tired of pretending. And her voice, though soft, carries the weight of 1,000 untold stories. And once she begins to speak, the world cannot unhear her anymore. You don't need to be fearless to speak. You need to be honest. You need to be tired of pretending. You need to believe that your story matters, that your words carry healing, that your voice, no matter how unfamiliar it sounds to you right now, was never meant to remain hidden. It was meant to echo across generations, to ignite change, to wake the women still whispering in the dark. The trembling voice today becomes the confident voice tomorrow. You don't wait for the shaking to stop before you speak. You speak through the shaking. You speak through the fear. You speak through the doubt. Because every word you release is a piece of your freedom returning. And the more you speak, the more you remember who you are. You are not too emotional. You are not too sensitive. You are not too much. You are a woman with a voice that this world desperately needs. And once you stop being so soft that your truth dissolves in silence, you become a force no one can silence again. You begin to speak not just for yourself, but for every woman who still can't. And when you speak, even as your voice trembles, you prove that courage is not about being loud, it's about being real. You prove that softness and strength can coexist. You prove that your truth was never meant to be silenced, it was meant to shake the ground you walk on in the end. So to every woman listening, it's time to stop being so soft that life forgets your name. You were not created to bend until you break or to please until you disappear. You were never meant to live in fear of rejection, discomfort, or judgment. You were not made to be fragile in a world that demands your fire. Within you is a voice that can change minds, a spirit that can shift generations, and a story that was never meant to be silenced. Your softness is beautiful, but it must never come at the cost of your strength. Let the world feel your boundaries. Let your thoughts fight for you, not against you. Let your rejections shape a path only you could walk. Let your voice tremble if it must, but let it rise. The woman who stops apologizing for her existence, who trains her mind to be her greatest ally, who draws boundaries like royalty, who finds direction in rejection, and who dares to speak even in fear. She is not soft in a world that expects her to be silent. She is fearless in a world that needs her to rise. You don't need to become someone else to be strong. You only need to remember who you are underneath the layers of expectations, doubt, and fear. The fearless woman within you isn't far away. She is simply waiting for you to stop shrinking, to stop surviving and start living, to stop whispering and start declaring, to stop softening yourself into silence and begin stepping fully into your power. And when you stop being so soft that the world defines you, you won't just walk through life, you will command it. You won't just exist, you will lead. Not with ego, not with anger, but with purpose, with clarity, and with unstoppable courage. Let this be the day you meet the fearless woman within you. Let this be the day you no longer apologize for her. Let this be the day you rise without permission. Let this be the day you stop being so soft. And this be the day you become fearless.